my name is Natalie McCauley, and welcome to our first episode of More to Advertising with Daily Ad Brief, where we talk about the latest tips and tricks in the digital media and advertising world. I am super excited for today's guest, Nick Castner, a senior media specialist at Hurrdat Media out of Omaha, Nebraska. I have personally worked with Nick and known Nick for the last several years, and I'm excited for everything he's going to share. So, Nick, thank you so much for coming on. Let's just start with a little bit about what do you actually do at Hurrdat and what is your expertise?
Yes. Well, Natalie, thank you so much for having me. So I work on the media side at Hurrdat. They have a marketing agency, but I focus on media and I grow their media property. So they have a Nebraska sports magazine, which I'm currently spending a bunch of time on, called Hail Varsity. But then they also have a podcast network of about 65 shows. So my role is audience development and growth.
Now, Nick, you've been in the podcast game for several years now. I would even say you were one of the first to come on, especially in Nebraska, and start really building that. How do you think the podcast network, podcasts, actually helps people with advertising? Because I think sometimes people want to start a podcast and they're like, I'm going to get leads from this right away. You and I both know that's not totally true.
Yes. So the one thing about podcast audiences, more than almost any other medium, is a podcast audience is very, very loyal. All the podcasts I listen to, and I'm sure the same goes with you, Natalie, and we've discussed this, that you love your host. You have an emotional connection with your host. So if you're thinking about starting a podcast, you will develop that community of loyal, that tribal community of hardcore fans. And those people may not run and buy something right away, but say if you are the CEO of a marketing agency like yourself, those people will think of you as the expert. So down the line, when they are considering buying a service that you offer, you will be the first person they think of.
But what really needs to happen is you have to build up that loyalty over time. So how long would you say when someone starts a podcast, how long do they actually need to commit to that to see the benefits of the advertising and lead generation and all of that comes with that later on?
Yes, I would say at least a year. And a common mistake with beginner podcasts is that they think they can do an episode a day. But really, a podcast can take a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of energy. So I start at whatever cadence you think a year from now you will still be able to execute. And a lot of times for a lot of creators and professionals, that's once a month. But it's still creating that content on a specific cadence over time will reap the benefits that we're discussing.
And you know what, Nick, another thing that's kind of jogging my memory that you and I have talked about that I think is important for people to note is it really is dependent on your brand. If you're a brand that has a ton of stories to tell, the podcast could be the right medium. But, I don't know if you're a manufacturing facility, right? If that's going to be the right medium for you to advertise on or plan on turning stories into advertisements later on. So it really depends on your brand. I want to get into another platform called TikTok, which everybody in the pandemic has heard of. You and I both got on it in the pandemic. We were growing the followers, growing the views, growing the likes. And now TikTok is competing heavily with Instagram Reels. And people are asking, do I do one? Do I do both? What do I do? What are your thoughts on this subject? Give us the know-how.
Yeah, I mean, TikTok's the future. Look at Facebook's stock price in the last 3 months. Obviously, there's more to it, but TikTok has been such a strong competitor that it's totally turned all social media platforms upside down. That every platform that's not TikTok is trying to be like TikTok. So if I were, my recommendation is focus on TikTok, but whenever you create media, you should create it in a way that's versatile. So that TikTok, it can go on YouTube. YouTube has shorts is what they call them. It can go on Instagram Reels. Facebook has a TikTok-like function. That TikTok can go on multiple platforms, but I would create it with TikTok in mind.
And I think that's a really good point, right? When you're thinking about digital marketing and advertising and putting out just a small piece of content in the universe, you need to make sure the content you're creating on one platform, you're saving it without the watermark, right? Downloading it and then getting it onto another platform as quickly as possible. And there's lots of ways to do that. All right. I want to end with just, a couple more seconds. My last question for you is really, what are the top tips and tricks you're seeing that are working for your clients across all the digital landscape?
So that versatile media, that's one thing I champion in almost all contexts. Of your podcast can create clips for TikTok. It can create a YouTube presence. It can do a lot of things. So, and I mean, we all have a limited budget, limited energy, limited time. So create media and create campaigns that can do multiple things at once. And then also know who you're trying to reach. And I mean, this is advertising 101, but know who you're trying to reach and keep that audience in mind in every step of the process.
Awesome. Nick Castner from Hurrdat Media. Thanks for sharing some tips and tricks. You can follow Nick on social media. Nick, you want to share your social media handles real quick?
Yes. So Nick Castner on pretty much everything, LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm starting to gear up TikTok again as a personal creator. Facebook and Instagram or LinkedIn is the best way to reach me. And I love getting messages from this kind of stuff. So if you have follow-up questions, please shoot me a note.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Nick. And if you're interested in seeing more episodes of the show and getting in touch with us, you can go to dailyadbrief.com. We would love to hear from you.